I thought I would do an episode on tips and tricks I know about using a tape measure. I know it sounds kind of basic, but I use a tape measure all the time. And I thought I would share some of the things that I do with these tapes. There's primarily three sizes that I use. I use a 100-footer for building layout, roof layout, that kind of thing. And then I use a 25-footer and a 16-footer. And the one that I like to reach the most for is a 16-footer. It fits better in your hand. It's a good feel. And it'll work for anything from a room layout, small deck layout, to a cabinet side. I mean, it's a good all general size tape measure. When you're looking for a tape, I use Fat Max, Stanley Fat Maxes. It's not because I love these tapes. I haven't found anything that I like any better. It's got a wide metal blade. It has a lock where my thumb is. When you're looking for a tape, you want to do what we call a break test. And a break test means how far out can you extend that tape before it snaps. And I snapped at 11 feet 8 inches. So that means without a helper, I can pretty much go to a wall pretty easily and get an accurate measurement. One person. If you have somebody helping you and you have them hold the tape for you for one moment, don't ever let them step on this blade. Have them bend down, because as soon as they step on it, there's a curvature to the blade, and it's going to put a slight cut in it, and over time it's going to get larger and larger, and that's exactly where that tape is going to break. If you're working outside and it ever gets damp, fully extend your tape, take a paper towel, and dry that blade off as you bring it in. Some people will put a wax or a silicone on it. I don't have, my tapes don't last a super long time. The clips on the back, they will tear up your pants, your belts. Don't really care for them. So my solution to that is have lots of tapes. Have one by the table saw, have one by the chop saw, have one in your pouch. When I grab a tape, I actually think of it in three parts. I always have a speed square, and I always have a pencil. Carpenter pencils are great for 2x4, 2x6, that kind of work. But if you're going to get accurate, you want to use a number 2 pencil. And let me just show you real quick. When I go ahead and do a measurement, I put a curl to it so that my numbers are straight down on the board. Okay? And then when I go to mark it, I don't just put a tick on it like that. I'll put a V on it. Okay? And it's right at that center of the V that I'm going to take my speed square or my chop saw, put that blade right on that. That's where that cut's going to be. I like to see if a piece I'm using is square, whether it be the side panel of a cabinet or a deck. And when I say square, I mean right angles. So to me, this would be square, even though it's a rectangle to everybody else. I want to make sure that these are sharp 90-degree angles. And the way that I do that is I'll put my tape on the corner, and I'll measure the diagonal this way, and I'll measure the diagonal this way. And if these two diagonals are equal, this in my mind is square. Here's a little tip for you. Oftentimes when you're building a cabinet, you'll have an inset back panel that fits into 2 dados, like that. And you want to get a measurement on that back panel, what it's going to be. And without doing a lot of math, what I like to do is take my two side panels and put them back to back, okay? And then, say my cabinet width is going to be 24 inches. I'll go to the 24 inch, okay, and put it on the inside of this dado right here, right there. And that tells me to get a 24 inch wide cabinet, I got to cut on the other side of this a 23 inch back. See how I did that? This is a great tip. I got this from a guy named Richard. He has a channel called DFW Crown. It's an excellent channel. And take a look at this little trick. If you have to make a division of, say, just for ease, 40 inches, bend your tape over and put it on the 40-inch mark, okay? If you look in the center of this tape, right in the middle, it'll say 20 inches, no math required, okay? So let me give you an example that's not so obvious. 69 and a half, put that right on 69 and a half. If you look in the center of this, you'll see 34 and 3/4. That's a real slick tip. When I'm laying out a deck or something large, we'll use what we call a 3-4-5 triangle. Let me show you how that works. It's off the Pythagorean theorem. What I'll do is I'll come up 3 inches on this side, okay? And I'll come up 4 inches on this leg. Okay? Now my diagonal would land exactly at 5 inches. Do you see that? That means this is a 90-degree angle right here. What's cool about that is you can use it in any multiple. It can be 3 inches, it can be 3 feet, or you can multiply it, say, by 3, each number. So 3 times 3 would be 9, 4 times 3 would be 12, so it would be a 9, 12, 15-foot triangle. The larger the triangle, the more accurate it's going to be when you're laying out, for example, a deck. I use my tape measure as a calculator. Let me show you what I mean. Say I'm measuring 15 and a half. Okay, I'll just look at the half mark, 15 and a half. Say I have to add a 1/4 inch to that. I just add physically a 1/4 inch to that, and I see it's 15 and 3/4. Say I have to subtract 3/8 from that. I'll just go 1, 2, 3/8, and now I know that I'm at 15 and 3/8. See how easy that is? If you use this and you're just adding and subtracting, it's a piece of cake. You'll notice that there's a red mark on a tape. That's for laying out stud work or for framing. Every 16 inches, you'll see a place where you're going to put your mark for your stud. Let's talk about this tip for a moment. This tip is designed, you'll notice that it has 3 rivets in it, and it moves, and you're going to like, wow, that's not going to be very accurate. It's made for 2 different types of measurements. It's made for a pull measurement, okay, and it's made for a push measurement. And that movement subtracts the thickness of the blade, okay? So it's real important when you're using your tape, make sure that this hook isn't bent, okay? Because that'll throw off all your measurements. Make sure that it's straight. Another thing that I like to do is only use one tape when I'm doing something accurate. I'll measure it and then I'll take it to the cut, okay? If I'm reading that tape to somebody else, we'll do what we call a burn one. And what that means is I don't use the hook at all. I'll just go to the 1-inch mark and I'll measure it. For example, this is 17 1/8. And I have to subtract 1 inch because I'm no longer using the hook. So it's 16 1/8. You just got to remember to burn that 1 inch. And that's super accurate because now I'm right on that mark on my tape. Here's another tip for you. I've been doing this so long that I can bend the tape and get an accurate curl, okay, when I'm working up into a corner. But if you need to, have a board that you know the length of it. Say it's 10 inches. Put that into the corner and then take your tape and unreel it toward the other corner and then come out. And right now I'm at 79 1/2 inches. And I know that all I got to do is add this other board, 10 inches. So it's 89 1/2 inches, corner to corner on an inside wall. No bending the tape, and very, very accurate. Here's a tip. If you have a board and you need to divide it up into equal pieces, for example, say this board is 12 1/2 inches wide, and I need 4 equal boards cut out of this, or four sections for some reason. Go ahead and take your tape measure and run it at a diagonal and put whatever number you needed divided by into it easily. For example, 4 divides into 20 easily. So if I needed this into 4 sections, I'd put it on my 20 mark and I would divide 4 by 20, and that's 5. So I put a mark on 5, 10, 15, and of course 20. And just to double check, that's 3 1/8, 3 1/8. If I needed 3 boards out of it, for example, or 3 sections, maybe I would go 21. 3 divided by 21 would be 7. So I would go 7 and 14. Very quick. How to divide a board into equal parts. Let's wrap this up. The most important tip I can give you actually regarding a tape measure is if you don't need to use it, don't. What I mean by that is if I can take, say I have 2 pieces of trim going up on either side of a window and I got to cut this top one, don't use the tape at all. Take your piece, put it right on it, and then mark it. That's the best tip I can give you. All right, I'll catch you on the next one.